nostalgia, James? Has nostalgia gone too far? And we've talked about it off air a little bit, how, we're just seeing a bunch of reboots and a bunch of sequels and a bunch of prequels, and, we get these legacy films that are just nostalgia ridden. We just had Beetlejuice 2 come out, and I know Beetlejuice 2 is more different from the first one, but it still needs nostalgia to get people to come see it.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, in the first movie, you didn't have Beetlejuice as much. So in the second one, you're going to try to play off that and have Beetlejuice a lot more. I just feel like with this Beetlejuice movie, it was a good film. I didn't have a problem with it. It was a couple things I didn't like with it. Way too many plot lines. You only need like 1 or 2 plot lines. You really need Jason Derulo. You really need Willem Dafoe in here either. If I'm keeping it real, you really need Willem Dafoe or Jason Derulo. The little tiny head guys. It was funny in the first one because they were like, "Oh, okay, these are shrunken dead guys."
Yeah.
But to bring them back again, it's just like I said. That's a bait nostalgia play, and I'm just like, oh boy. Now it was better than Ghostbusters. I will say that it was way better than Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Frozen Empire was just nothing but nostalgia bait, left and right. It is starting to get a little bit of annoying.
Right, because at what point are we just going to stop getting original content and just getting these nostalgia laden movies? And it's weird because people want the nostalgia, but then when they get it, they don't really like it.
Yeah, that's because people really don't know what they want. They just say what they want, and then once they get it, they're still not satisfied. That's why you really can't you can't go off of fans' emotions. You have to do what's best for you if you're the one that's filming this movie. If you're gonna do a sequel or a reboot, that's fine. But you got to have the courage enough to stand it, make it your own,
right? Or at least try to make it stand on its own as a film, because it's like, okay, if we're making a sequel to this, how do you make it to where, you can watch the first one, but also if you don't, you're not really missing out. You know what I mean? Like it's like, how do we make each movie, while it's a sequel, stand on its own without needing to follow the whole series?
And everything has to be a series play. We have to revert back to this one. Or this has to be someone's daughter. Or this one has to be someone's son. And it's just like, why?
Yeah, we always have to have a connection. And we said this before. That's what was nice about Twisters.
Yep, it was.
Mm-hmm. There was no real connection between Twisters and the first Twister. The only connection was like the Dorothy device. But then even then, it wasn't a big plot point, right?
That was just a small snippet.
Just a little Easter egg, and that was about it. There was no, the plot wasn't derived around the Dorothy. It wasn't derived around, we got to find the guy who invented this. My mom used to work with him, and everyone's like, oh, that's Bill Paxton they're talking about, or whoever. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that. And it was still a good movie. It still stood on its own.
It was a very good film, and I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that they didn't try to go off nostalgia play.
Right.
What's another movie that did that? Now, see, the 2018 Halloween, what made that movie stand up on its own is because you had a good storyline to go along with it.
That's true. And, because they did it as a sequel to the very first one, but like 40 years later. So they subverted the timeline. And you're right, they did make the plot more interesting because it's like, okay, he hasn't broken out several times. It's just been 40 years. Jamie Lee Curtis has been preparing for him to come back. I kind of think it would have been better if it counted the second one as canon too, because that would have given Jamie Lee Curtis's character more reason to be more paranoid.
True.
I understand, after the first one that maybe for a little while she was scared he was going to return. But after 40 years, like you had a whole kid and a grandkid, Yeah,
you got a point. At some point in time, you weren't scared of him.
Yeah, so I think it would have been better if the second one was also like factored in there. But I mean, outside of that, it did stand on its own. And then the sequels didn't really hold up. Yeah.
Awful movies. And the last one tried, but it's just like you introduce another new character into the film without even giving them half a good story.
Well, and it's funny too, because like I didn't really mind the weird like mentor thing going on, but I think it just needed to be expanded on and set up a little bit better.
Exactly.
Just in the final film. We were talking in the car about how Venom 3 is doing Noel, and yeah, you're introducing the big bad in the third film. Like this is the finale of the film, and you're introducing this. That's kind of similar to what they did with the third Halloween movie. Oh, you introduce this kid to take up the mantle, but you just introduce him in the final film. Like you could have been setting him up from the beginning.
And don't get me wrong, he had a very good storyline.
No, he did.
That's perfect. I was like, okay, I get that. They didn't go about it properly. And
right.
Yeah, I have a very big problem with that. So you got sequels, bad nostalgia play, and bad reboots. It's like all this coincides. So everything that we're talking about all coincides with what we're saying.
Right. And another factor of what's going on with modern day like independent properties is it seems like every show it seems like every movie needs like a TV show to coincide with it.
Oof, yeah.
And I'm noticing that trend picking up very quickly as these bigger movies get produced. We just saw it with Sonic and Knuckles. Knuckles had a TV series. The Penguin series, we've talked about the Penguin series before.
Peacemaker,
he's got a series. There's some other movies that are like, they have like little mini series in between. It's kind of fun. I'll admit some of it's kind of fun. But at the same time, it's like, well, how long is this going to go on until people are tired of doing homework? We're already seeing that with the MCU stuff, right? The Disney Plus stuff got very overwhelming and daunting.
And now they're finally trying to slow down now. It's like finally they're slowing down on TV shows.
Yeah, you're right. But now everybody else is picking up on it.
Yeah, that's the part that sucks.
Yeah, so it's just like, well, I mean, you have one fan base who's already just like, look, we're kind of tired of keeping up with all this. This is too much. While you have these other properties going, well, guess what we're doing?
A TV show.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think if you do it smartly to where it's like, yeah, look, we did a side series, but you don't need to watch it to watch the next movie.
True.
It's like we just made a side series for fun. We were given the budget and the studio wanted us to do it, so here you go. But if you don't want to follow it, you don't need to follow it to understand what's going to happen next. MCU was doing a thing where it's like, if you want to find out what's going on in the next like movie, you got to watch WandaVision. Yeah. And so I think that's the delicate balance of, yeah, look, we have a movie series and we have these television series that coincide, but you need to balance it to where if you don't see the TV series, it doesn't affect you enjoying the trilogy of this film or whatever.
I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know if Hollywood's going to just run out of ideas or what. It seems like it, though. It seems like they run out of ideas.
Yeah, it just seems kind of strange. I don't know if it's running out of ideas or they're just trying to capitalize too fast on successful projects. It seems like as soon as something makes a lot of money, they're gung-ho for 2 or 3 sequels in a TV show. But if something's not making the money so fast, or we talked about it before, if a movie comes out and it's not getting butts in seats within the first weekend,
they're done. Yeah,
they're ready to dump it. Netflix has a really bad habit of producing TV shows, and if people aren't watching it within the first week, canceled. I think Amazon, Joel's telling me, Amazon or some other streaming company, they produced a show, and I think before even the first episode came out, they had canceled it already.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot what the name of that show is.
It's just like, you gotta let these projects breathe a little bit. You gotta give the audience time to get to it and enjoy.
Well, you know what I'm about to talk about, because it kind of coincides with what we've been talking about, like Acolyte. Because Acolyte was the same thing. There were, now depending on who you listen to, there were people that were actually on board with Acolyte.
Yeah,
and they actually did green light a sequel, a second season, but it got so much hard animosity towards it, they decided not to do so.
Yeah.
And that's what you call not going with your gut. Now at the same time, I did not watch Acolyte because it did not look interesting to me at all. Not even a little bit. So I don't know who to believe on that.
Right.
But you're right. There are a couple of shows that you can because Netflix has so many crap load of shows that have had no endings to any of it. Nothing.
Right. There's that new Chaos series with Jeff Goldblum where he's playing Zeus, right? Yeah. And I would love to watch it, but the fact is it's a show. and it's got 8 episodes, and it's like, do I want to get involved in this? And then if they leave it open for a second season and then it gets canceled, then I'm never going to see the resolution of the series.
Because it's not gonna, they're not going to greenlit a second season of that.
You're trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks, but then you're not letting your audience have the time to enjoy the things you're making. So then your audience loses trust in you, right? Because they're like, oh, like, hey, yeah, cool, you put out this new TV series, but you're probably just going to cancel it, so I'm not going to watch it, which will then reflect in your numbers, which will then cause you to cancel the show anyway. And then it just continues this vicious cycle of a problem.
So, that's exactly how I am when I watch Netflix or Amazon or any other shows. Like Twisted Metal, I have heard nothing about a second season of Twisted Metal.
No, they're getting a second season.
Okay, they're getting a second season.
It is confirmed. No, it got confirmed really quick. Like they're doing a second season. I think they're filming it, or they might almost be wrapping up filming. But it is getting a second season. Twisted Metal was a really great show.
I love that movie. I mean, I love that show.
It was really great, and they are getting a second season from what I understand.
Oh, okay, so, cool.
That for sure is getting a second season. I think Netflix is bad about it. Amazon's kind of getting that same way.
But the thing about it is Netflix has so much content.
I made the comment to Joel, is like these subscription companies are kind of finding out what it actually takes to make your own film or own television series. Like they're finding out how much money it involves, right? Because before, Netflix and Amazon, they just had the licenses to play movies and TV shows that already exist. They just had to pay, like sign a contract. It's like, hey, for 6 months, we're going to keep this show or this television or this movie on our service, and then we're gonna lose it, and then we'll get some others, right?
True.
But now, since they're trying to create their own content and they're trying to produce their own films, and they're getting big name actors like The Rock and Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling and Gal Gadot, Kevin Hart. They're trying to make these big budget movies with these big budget actors, and they're kind of realizing that it's a money hole in a way.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot to do these shows and movies.
It does. It's not as simple as I'm just going to license out this movie series for a year, and then our subscribers will be able to watch it, and then we'll get we'll have to cycle them out eventually. It's not just that. It's, oh, we're putting real money into this. And they're doing it so fast and so much. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to balance out, but at some point it should, because it's getting real annoying for the audience to see a show or a movie come out and they're like, oh, I want to enjoy this, but it might not get a sequel or it might get canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of it is I'm just getting tired of all of it, honestly. That's why, I'm getting tired of the nostalgia bait, making us look like we're a bunch of what you call us, seahorses, and you make it like a bunch of animals. Like, oh yeah, they'll take exactly what we give them.
But see, that's part of the vicious cycle is original content. People aren't watching it enough, so nostalgic content, people are watching it. And even though people aren't enjoying it, they still flock to it.
Yeah, that's true. They're Star Wars fans.
Yeah, calling them out. But yeah, so they'll flock to the nostalgia stuff. But then when it comes to the original content, they're like, oh, well, we'd like to watch it, but it's probably going to get canceled anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, I can't do it no more, man. I can't. That's why I like The Bear, because The Bear is original content. And on top of that, it's been season after season after season.
You're right.
So I don't have to worry about it getting canceled. But that's why that's the only show I really watch on TV.
Yeah. So, no, I agree with you. And I'm glad we finally got to have this little discussion, because I've been wanting to have a full-on discussion about it for a while. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening. And if you would like to join the conversation, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at On The Go with Jacob and James. You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find me on Instagram at jacobdantone.audio. I'm on the go. James is on the go. We're all on the go.